Hello there and welcome to section 1. This is the room blocking out section. Basically in this section we're going to be putting down some basic geometry just to sort of define the extents of the room and to locate some of the sort of more standard static assets within the room, such as where the bath is going to be, where the sink table is going to be, and where the opening for the lights are going to be. No real detail as such, just a few primitive cubes, just to give us something to sort of go forward on. So this is a brand new Modo scene, as you can see. The only thing I've done, I've just renamed this mesh to sort of a room block. And then within systems, for if you go to preferences, I've just got the default unit set to meters. Please be mindful if you're using Modo on a Macintosh, an iMac or something there, that you don't get to the preferences from system. It's probably under a pull down called Modo or something like that on the left. So just if you're a Mac user, you'll obviously know where to look. So just check that out. So there's nothing too serious in this one today. The only other thing I've done really, which I like doing for Modo setup, is under the lasso style. I've got it just set to rectangle, just so when I make lasso, it's easier to draw a box in my eyes than draw a lasso. Although we might have to change it back to lasso for sort of selecting more intricate pieces, but we shouldn't really need to so much for this tutorial set. So we've got our room block mesh layer selected there, and I'm not really going to go over the sort of the Modo workings too much here. Anything I come across like quick keys and shortcuts I will mention, but here I'm just holding down the Alt key just to rotate round, and then the Alt Shift to Alt Control, sorry, to zoom, and the Alt Shift to pan around there. Okay, I'm going to hit 1 on the keypad just to jump over to the top view, or you can do Control and Spacebar to bring up this sort of hot wheel here. You can select the different views from there. So we're in the top view there, and basically I'm just going to make the room here. So I'm just going to make a standard, some of the basic modeling tools and the sort of the cube primitive there, and I'm just going to basically just drag a sort of square shape out anywhere we like, really. Now in the inspector view on the left here, you'll see some of the dimensions and positions for this initial sort of square plane I've made. So you'll see the size of this at the moment. So we know mine is going to be 250 centimeters, so we're going to just do 250, and you can actually type in cm for centimeters there, and then when you hit return, it'll just default it to the unit size as we're in. I'm just using the mouse wheel here just to zoom out a bit, and for the Z, the actual sort of width, the length of the bathroom there, I'm just going to set this to 510 centimeters. Now as you can see, the Y value here has got 0 meters. There's basically no size to this at the moment. If I jump over to the perspective view, you can see it's just a flat plane. There's no actual height to this at all. Now one of the things to notice about Modo is that you can work on these tool handles. This is just to sort of basically resize it, or you can tweak the veils in here as much as you like until you hit the spacebar and drop the tool. So it's quite in your interest to sort of the flick over views. You're not going to lose any sort of the functionality of actually creating the cube by sort of doing these different changes. So basically now in for the height here, I'm going to put in 250, 2.5 meters, 250 centimeters as well. So now I've got my basic room laid out there. Now on the number keypad here, you can jump through the views with the 1, 2 and 3. You just get a top view, a front view, and a sort of side view. It's the right in this case, but to be honest, those 3 views are enough for you to sort of do most of what you need in. Like I said, I'm just zooming in with the mouse wheel there, and to select objects, I'm just basically double clicking to select the whole set of polys, or you can come down to the statistics pane down here. Now if you want to select polys, we'll be using these, or I'll be going into a bit more detail about these, but if you pull down this little drop down there, you can select polygons by material, part, vertex, type, etc. And we will be doing that at later dates. Or you can just hit the little cross there to select everything within that group of polygons, or minus just to unselect. So we're going to just select those like that. We're going to jump over to a side or front view, it doesn't really matter. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hit the W key there. I'm going to turn the snapping on, and then click down here to snap to grid. And I'm just going to basically zoom in. I'm just going to basically just snap that to. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect how we work at all. You can imagine this plane is sort of 0, 0, 0, but it doesn't matter if you snap it to the origin point, the center being at this sort of the cross there. It's not going to affect the lighting or any of our setup at all. Or what also you can do, you can go over to the center selected here, and you can either select it, you can center it all axes, or just various axes. Okay, so there's our basic room done, would you believe? It's as simple as that for the actual shell. One thing you will notice that all the polygon faces are facing outwards, so you can actually see it as a cube. But for our usage, obviously we want walls, and we want to be more inside the box rather than outside the box looking in. So what we're going to do, we're just going to select all the polygons. You can use the little cross down there, or double click, or in fact you can sort of drag a lasso. So we're just going to click the little poly there, and I'm just going to hit F, which basically just flips the faces. Now you can see it looking more like a room. You can see like the insides now, as opposed to a sort of a cube shape. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the top view now, and what I'm going to do, I'm basically going to just the bar, the actual fitting itself is 80 centimeters in width. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull that out, and now you'll see here from the dimensions of this sort of flat plane I've made. It's that's 80 centimeters there, 800 mil, but you can see it's basically 4 blocks, and you can see down here the dimensions is 200 blocks, and this is the actual 200 mil. This is the actual size of these blocks. So you can see this one here, they're 200 mil square, so 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's where our 800 mil comes from. But as you zoom in, you see they change. So now we're zoomed in. This is still 800, but each of these blocks now are 50 mil. So that's just something to note when you're actually placing geometry. You can get quite a good indication of size just looking at the scale there. Now, so we know it's about 4 blocks. So what we're going to do, just to make our life slightly easier for this, is, and this is not exact, we're leaving it on snapping, and I'm leaving it on the grid there. And I'm going to come over to the basic toolage again, and there's a button here called button here called slice. So we're just going to select that, and we're going to just count up 4 of these here. So we're going to say about there, and just going to basically just drag across. Now if we go back to our perspective view, we can see what that's actually done. We'll select polygons there, just so we're selecting the polygons. You can see it's basically just divided these out. It's basically put a cut through there. Now the thing to note about when you're slicing is, I'll just undo that so I'll show you what I mean. If you've got nothing selected, like here, there's no poly selected at all, and we cut across, and we hit spacebar to drop the tool. Now we go over to perspective view, and you can see what it's done. It's actually cut everything it's come into contact with. So I'll undo that again. Alternatively, say we just wanted to not cut these walls, just cut this bottom plane. If we select that bottom poly there, and then we can go straight back over to top view, the same, no difference. And then we'll just sort of cut across there. Spacebar, drop the tool. Now when you come over, you can see it's only actually It's only divided those up, and these others are still solid there. Okay. So that is about 4. You can see there's 3 there. There's 3/4 of one there, and a bit there. So we're saying that's about 4. So that's about 800 mil, and that's enough for us sort of the purposes. We're not going to be too worried. Okay, so I'm going to select that poly there, and I'm just going to hit the B key, which is bevel, and I'm just going to click in the viewport, and I'm just going to drag this up, and this bath itself is 52 to the bottom lip. And you'll see what I mean by the bottom lip in a minute. So I'm just going to put it on 52 there. You can drag it on the side here, or you can just enter the details straight into there. I'm just going to hit space while I drop the tool. Now, what thing to note is if I just out of the way so we don't. Okay, I've got a little box. When I select it and I hit W, say to move, or you can use these are the transformer buttons up here: move, rotate, scale, or all 3. You can see as I'm moving it, you actually get an amount here I'm actually moving it by. So you can see visually. Now, if you don't see those, which you may, that's not the default option. If you come over to your preferences again and go down to tool handles, yours are probably set on basic if you can't see that. So just flick those over to advanced, and then you'll get those dimensions shown. Okay, so that's the bottom sort of lip of the bath, and I'm going to select the poly on the top, and I'm going to hit B again. I'm just going to pull that up a bit. This is the rock sort of granite bit there, and this is the actual bath on the top there. Okay, so far so good. Now we're going to put a door in here. Now I haven't got the dimensions, so we're not going to worry about the dimensions for now. We're just going to let the foundation work here, just to give us something to play with later, because the door's not going to be seen. It's going to be behind the camera, so it's not too critical. It's more like just an opening really, so we can have some sort of background light coming in. Now you could not put the wall on at all and just have the light there, but the way the light works when it does a sort of a 3D render and all the photons bounce around the scene, basically you want as much as the geometry as in would be there in the real world, like all the 4 walls. Just the light does bounce around. If this was an opening, when the light bounced this way, it would just come out there and just be lost. So you wouldn't get a true light effect. It doesn't affect the scenes too much, but it's worth noting that it's best to leave them in if you can. So what I'm just going to select the back face there. And we're going to go over to a front view there. I've got my snapping on still. I'm going to put it onto grid. And I'm just going to slice, and I'm just going to slice anywhere. I'm just going to slice down the middle. And I'm just going to do spacebar, drop the tool. And I'm going to go to perspective. And you can see now I've got I'll go over to edges. I've got a line there, a cut to make the door. Now I'm not sure how wide the door is, so I'm just going to hit the B key to bevel the actual edge. You can bevel anything. You can bevel the polys, which you saw when I raised this bath section up. You can also bevel points or lines. So we've got the line selected. I'm just going to hit the click in the scene to activate the tool. I'm just going to pull on this toolbar, and you'll see it pulling out 2 lines. Now these sections in the middle there, they are created by this rounding level here. So I don't want any rounding level there, so I'm just going to basically turn it on to 0. And I'm going to hit spacebar, drop tool. Now this isn't probably the right width for a door, but we'll worry about that when we come back in the next part. I'm also just going to select all those 3. I'm just holding the left button there and just basically dragging across them. And I'm also going with snapping turned on, make sure grid's on. I'm going to slice. I'm just going to drag across there as well. And this is basically going to be the doorway. So what we'll do is when we actually find the true dimensions, we can just select these, and we can then hit the W key, and we can move, to make the width in the middle there. Okay. So far so good. Now I want a sink, so I'm just going to go over to a top view. I'm just going to select a cube here. So I'm using a different actual primitive now, rather than working by sort of changing the geometry of the original box. I'm just going to drag out a cube here. Now the sink I've got here in the house, the depth here of the sink is 54 centimeters, and it's 70 centimeters in length. And I'm just going to give it just some height for now. So I'm just going to move that roughly where we want it. I'm going to create a new one, and this is going to be the sink table. So I'm just going to use these arrows here. I'm basically just going to move this into the center of the sink. So that's going to be on the wall there. There's going to be a very slight lip. No, we'll do it flush actually. And there's going to be a piece each side for your toothbrush and the like. So I've got that there. Now I'm just going to give this table just a tiny piece of depth, just for now. I'm just going to select both of those and just hit the W key just to move. And now mine's 58 off the ground, so I'm just going to create a box, say 60. And then basically I'm just going to roughly put it in there, and then select these two. And just move that just into place where I'm going to have it. So there's my sink and my bath. Mirrors and things I'm not really going to be worried too much about at the moment. Same with the taps are going to be. These are just guides more than anything for me. The bathtub and that is pretty set in stone, as it were. But these can all change. That's not. I'm also going to put a little opening in here in the top here for light to come down. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select these two edges there, these two faces, sorry. And make sure symmetry is turned off. Actually, I can turn it on just so it snaps to. I don't want to snap to anything grid-wise. What I'm going to do, I'm basically going to just. When you've got the snapping turned off, even though you haven't got grid turned on, the snapping just still lets you basically select this angle snap here, so you can get it to snap to 45 degrees or whatever angle you set in there. So I'm just going to drag that out. And now for this side here, I'm just going to use the slice tool here. I'm just going to cut along there. And also, let's just have a look. If you want to zoom into one thing you're selected, like I forgot that polygon on the top there. If you do Shift A, that will just center on that piece. So I'm going to set that poly Shift A just to center on it. Now I'm going to make a little light here, which comes basically, so it's not too high, so there's not a great deal of light coming. So I'm going to get the slice tool again. So probably here's the sink. Probably about, we'll say about there. Like that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do though, I'm going to select these two and see if we can do these at the same time. Hit B for bevel, click in the viewport, and then I'm just going to drag them back just to just so when the camera's there you can't see them basically. And I'm just going to delete those end faces there, just so we can get some light coming in this hole here and this hole here. Okay, I'll snap that when we get to work on there. Okay, this door at the back here, I'm just going to get the edges, double click on both those to select all of them. I'm just going to not move it like that, just move it over there, say. Now this one seems a bit narrow for a door, but and now this polygon in the middle, I'm going to hit the B key and just push that back to make a little door opening. And I'm just going to delete that. I'm not even going to measure. I'm not even going to. It's not even an issue because it's behind the camera. And that's just to let a bit of light in, and these walls will still block out any bouncing. So I've got to have some light coming in here. I'm going to have some light coming in this slot there, and some light coming in the top there, and I'm going to have some ceiling lights as well. So there's our room basically blocked out. So that's the end of this first part, and I'll see you for part 2 when we'll continue a bit further. So bye for now.